Watch out. Show a little blang a little bit, you know what I'm saying? What's up, everybody? We are here with a new episode of We Out Here. And we are out here today with my guy, the creator of Mr. Nice Guy, Ben Slowey.
Welcome to another edition. Welcome to another edition. Welcome to another edition of Mr. Nice Guy. I'm Ben Slowey.
How we doing, brother?
Good to see you, Jordan.
Hey,
Thanks for having me on the show.
it is great to see you, young sir.
Good to see you as well, man.
Well, today, I just felt we needed to do an interview. I wanted to sit down with you because as the host of Mr. Nice Guy, you do a ton of interviews. What's it, like 200? Where are you at right now?
Today I just uploaded 282. It's filled quite a lot of time this past year for sure.
I feel that. And I know we've known each other for about almost 6 years now, going back to the freshman year, right?
Yeah, it'll be 6 years this year. Damn.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And I felt it was only right, because I've been there to hear a lot of your stories before, Mr. Nice Guy and everything like that. And I felt the world needs to know more about the person that's interviewing everyone else. So I want to sit down with you today and kind of ask you a few questions just to see more about where you come from.
For sure, man. I appreciate that. And I feel like we come full circle just doing this in the UWM Union right now.
You know?
Yeah, right.
You gotta come back to the roots.
Hey, we out here, right? Yeah. Shameless plug.
I want to go back to, where at least I was first introduced to you or knew about your background is back in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So you're from Chicago area, suburbs, went to Homewood Flossmoor.
I did, right?
How was that? To me, that when we talk about it, I think that's a very interesting school that, from the stories that I've heard. And you've had a lot of talented people come out there, from athletes to, a lot of creatives and people like Juice World from
Rest in peace.
R.I.P. to Juice. Rocky Fresh as well.
Rocky, yeah.
And also the Hot Boys, the
Hotheads.
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 Hot.
Hey,
Yeah.
yo, bitch up for grabs like a sweepstake, and I eat her ass like a cheesecake. Now we back to my place, bust on her face with my nut like a toothpaste.
We got Queen Key.
Oh, yeah.
We got Ohana Bam. There's I feel like every couple months there's a new someone from HF that's making noise, getting noticed on Twitter, Instagram, their videos are on World Star or something like that. Yeah, it's an immersive culture that's bred some real, true, authentic, and just quite frankly a very eclectic talent for sure.
How was it for you going through that, from high school on and just being around that culture? How was that vibe for you?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know, HF was just I did a string of episodes when I was home with some friends for the holidays, and we were talking about how HF was just it wasn't just a school, it was a culture that was so realized and manifested by people that attended HF through the internet. So people would share memes that only HF people would know, or there were certain people that were at HF that were making music, that were actually recording themselves. I remember I showed you that song Sumo, but I love. Yeah,
I still listen to that.
Yeah, it's a great song. But yeah, he was 16 when he made that. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So people were actively, people were that attended HF were doing all kinds of different shit. There were rappers. We had a really strong arts program. We had some really, really smart genius level people that graduated at the top of our class that went to really, really good schools. We had our sports teams were great. There was a little bit of everything at HF. And me, I feel I didn't find my niche at HF being somebody who like didn't play sports, wasn't musically inclined, didn't really know anything about myself and like what I wanted to do. I didn't find that until like at least a couple years in. Like I took broadcasting in high school. Like I took the intro class like freshman year, and like just to try it out, you know, like honestly my mom was the one who was like, oh, you should take broadcasting, you should try it.
Yeah.
You know, so I did, and that ended up being where I found myself. And like I feel like it's just like HF, you know, there will be certain characters, certain people that you just know. Like everyone knows like that guy, because like there was a guy that would like dress up in these ridiculous like Viking costumes at our football games, and we're like, oh yeah, like there's that guy. Everyone knows that guy.
Yeah.
Or, you know, everyone will know like a certain faculty member that is like particularly like, you know, not nice, or that they're super funny or savage or like whatever. Like there's just a lot that like people can relate to within amongst each other in HF. For me, like, so that became broadcasting. Like that became what I found myself passionate about and something I felt like I could be myself in. I started doing, it was VTV. That was our TV station. We also had WHFH, our radio station, and like I did both of those. And yeah, like I feel like, you know, that was what people knew me as, you know, like my moniker on VTV was Ben Slowey. Yeah, and like, and I, you know, like I'd be weird, I'd be goofy, I would just be sort of like, you know, I would have fun with it, because to me it's just like, it's boring if you just kind of read words off a teleprompter or just speak into a microphone without giving some, you know, vibrancy or some sort of color to it, some kind of like character. So that's kind of like where I found myself in. Like definitely took a lot of going out of my comfort zone, you know, just not letting it get to me when it's like, if someone like would make fun of me, or someone would like tell me like I gotta stop doing it the way I did it, I just had to kind of not let it get to me and just, you know, be myself. And that eventually, yeah, like that set me on the path of like pursuing broadcasting in school, in college, and led me here.
Going off of you saying going to college, you know, transitioning into choosing to go from Illinois to a great state of Wisconsin, and
Yeah.
you know, when you first came to UW Milwaukee, did you know, and you love the music, did you know anything about Milwaukee music or the Milwaukee culture before you came up here?
Not a thing.
Not a thing?
Nothing.
No.
I knew nothing about Milwaukee when I came here. I committed to UW Milwaukee before I even toured it, because like I didn't apply to that many schools. I only applied to 3 schools, and I wanted to get away from Chicago. Like, and Milwaukee was, I got into it, and it had like a media program. I mean, I just knew more, like I knew Wisconsin by just like being like a big, you know, beer, cheese, sausage, cranberries, like, you know, dairy, like I knew more about like Wisconsin. I didn't know anything about Milwaukee proper. Yeah. And like I'd been to Madison one time, like me and a couple buddies like visited my friend's sister like up there. We stayed there for a weekend my senior year, and that was a lot of fun. Definitely got me excited for college. But in terms of like Milwaukee culture, let alone the music and art scene, no, I had no exposure to that.
Now you're fully into it. When did you get into the music scene or just know about the culture here?
I think, and you know, you were there for it actually. You know, we yeah, like you know, you and I, we lived together several times in college, and like honestly, like it came from me growing together with my friends and learning about like what it was we were passionate about and like what we really wanted to do out here. And like, you know, you were a big music guy too. You know, I liked music a lot, but I feel like I kind of outwardly expressed like what I enjoyed in college as like bringing people together. You know, we threw a lot of parties. We loved partying. But you just love doing the music. You would always DJ, you know, like, so I think that like we all kind of figured it out, like, over time that like, okay, I want to use my expertise in broadcasting and interviewing people and telling stories. I want to somehow like utilize that, like what I'm getting my degree in accordance with giving people some sense of community. So I think it really took like, so obviously like, you know, we have our friends in Chicago that also had made music, had made art, that I had introduced to our friends up here in Milwaukee our junior year. I think it took that, like that was when it really started, was like, you know, taking all of our different unique talents and interests and blending them together into this like this collective of sorts where like we're all doing something different. And when we started J3 Studios in 2017, like that was that kind of became like my first sort of like actual exposure to like, you know, Milwaukee music and Milwaukee like creative spaces, like actually reaching out to people like in the community and like asking them to be a part of something. Like, because at J3, you know, we would do art showcases, we would do poetry slams, we did concerts, we did a film festival at one point. Like it took it, you know, did fashion too. Like we tried to make it so like we were covering ground for everything. So I think it was like, yeah, like just a couple years ago when we started J3, that was when I just kind of by our nature, by what we were doing, I had to start like learning about the musicians, the bands, the, you know, the poets, the photographers, you name it, any art medium. It started from there, and it definitely kind of like it would eventually set in motion what I would find myself wanting to do, podcasting.
Thinking about after you graduate college and what you want to do and getting into that, what made you want to, is the stuff that you did with J3 and before, is that why you wanted to stick around Milwaukee instead of going back to, well, we know Chicago already has a solid culture with what they've had musically and artistically.
Yeah.
You know, why did you not bring your talents back to Chicago to cover that scene and stick around this brand new Milwaukee culture?
Sure, that's a good question, because like I definitely like had thought about that. Like, you know, it's kind of like, you know, it's the song by The Clash, should I stay or should I go? You know, like I definitely thought about going back to Chicago or relocating after I finished school. But, you know, I was having just, after graduating, you know, a lot of us go through it, the post-grad blues, figuring out what's next. And I definitely went through that, and it was a hard time for sure. And like I had always wanted to do a podcast. If you remember, like I attempted one at one point when we were at J3. It was the Slow Down with Slowey.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to the next episode of Slow Down with Slowey. I'm your host, Benjamin Slowey.
We ended up doing 4 episodes, and I didn't quite get it yet. You know, I didn't quite figure out like what it's going to take for me to like, you know, fully commit myself to this and figure out what I want to do that isn't already being done. So when I was like trying to figure out like what I was going to be doing after I was done with school, I figured, okay, well, in the meantime, I can start going out to like different networking events, like meet other creatives, go to more shows, like just kind of see more of like what's out here in Milwaukee. And kind of like a really big like defining moment, like that really like kind of put everything, it like breathed fresh air into me, was going to the High Five Studio networking jam, like in one of those like last year, like winter months. Like that was when I felt like this is it, you know, like this is the inspiration I needed. There's all these creatives that do all kinds of different things, and we're all here collectively in one community. And I'm like, wow, I just want to get to know everybody. I want to like hear everyone's story. I want to know everything about like what everyone does. But how can I do that in a way that like makes sense? How can I do it like where I'm actually like getting to every single person, like hearing from every different scene? I decided like, okay, well, maybe this is what I can make my podcast about, hearing everyone's story. And like I'm a very emotional person, you know. I'm very, very like, you know, a lot of emotion goes into the way I feel about things and what I do, how I feel about the world. And I figured like I can insert like that emotional component into how I interview people, which is love and fear. You know, everything we do is based in love and fear. Like every decision we make, everything that drives us to either do or not do something is love and fear. So that became the theme of the show. And I started doing it actually 2 days from now. I don't know when this will be out, but January 27th, 2 days from now, will be the 1 year anniversary of when I filmed my first episode. And like, yeah, like it was just a matter of being in the right place at the right time to get the right insight I needed. Like, this is it. This is what I want to make my show about. This is what I want to like people to know me as.
I remember when you first called me about the show idea, and you're like, hey, I got this idea that I want to do the show. You know, now coming to the year anniversary in 2 days, did you see having 200 some episodes? Like, did you see that happening when you first called me?
No, absolutely not, dude. I started doing one episode a week, and like I thought that would be playing it safe, you know, like wanted to start it kind of like easy. And I started doing the show like in like kind of like at the same time I started freelance writing for Breaking and Entering. Like I had just gotten in touch with Alan, and like he put me on as a writer. So I started you know, going out to local shows, like interviewing local artists, and like I kind of like I wanted to juxtapose like both things I was doing at so like people I would meet out at shows, like I would eventually bring them down to my show. You know, like when I started doing like Mr. Nice Guy, like I was mostly interviewing people like I already knew, or people like I was, you know, that were out over at High Five. Like I, you know, was still kind of playing it like in the territory I was already in. But as I just progressively started meeting more and more people, I'm like, man, like, you know, I could do so much more with this. Like I could get more content out. Like, you know, like I'm still working part-time, so I still have like time I could be doing like episodes and stuff. And like, that's what happened. I just started racking up more and more episodes. Like by like, I want to say April or May, like I started doing them like several times a week. Like that became several times a day. It just became something I like got indulged in because of just like realizing how many people there are to talk to that are doing all kinds of neat shit. Admittedly, I did get kind of carried away this fall. Like I was doing like so many episodes. Like I was getting so behind on uploads. Because like I was getting them out like pretty quickly, like when I first started, but now like I'm still uploading episodes that I just recorded in like December. So it's you know, I've had to like really like motivate myself and stay like on top of things, which has been a personal challenge to myself to just, you know, to just keep things in motion always. But yeah, like I mean it taught me what I was capable of. I learned a lot about what I was capable of doing all of that. And yeah, like I'm, you know, the people have said like, oh, like how do you have time for so much? Like, are you worrying about burning out? I'm like, yeah, of course I'm worrying about that. But you know, like but think about it this way. This is what I have, you know. If I wasn't doing all the work I was doing, I would feel like there's some void that's not being filled. Like this is what has filled my void of like that chronic feeling of emptiness. Like this is what's been fulfilling me so much, and that's why I do it so much.
Now you're a year in, with all what you learned, all the connections you've made, and people that you've been able to learn stuff from. Where do you see? Can you give us a little insight of where you see the Mr. Nice brand, Mr. Nice Guy brand going? Where do you plan on taking it this next upcoming year?
Like, I've been wondering like how I can reinvent some things, do things a little differently, like work on the brand, I guess that's kind of what I've been taking this hiatus to sort of like reflect on, is like, how can I make it, continue innovating it? Well, to start, I would just want to like kind of do what I grew doing like over the past year, which is just platforming a lot of different kinds of people. So like when I first started, like it was mostly just creatives, but over time I started having more close friends on the show. Like we did an episode, obviously I had like most of my close friends. I had started having, because love and fear play into where we're at in life. Love and fear plays into social justice, so I started having more like community organizers, or people that are part of different marginalized communities, just giving the platform to a lot of different people. And I want to continue doing that. Like, I definitely want to have more politicians on the show this year. I definitely want to have like just people from different, maybe like minority backgrounds, people that have faced oppressions that a lot of people don't understand, and allocating the platform to different communities of people that I didn't get to this year. I'm hoping that this show can become something that like, I can start buying groceries with. A show that like I can start, like the money I make like from that, like, because the way I have started making money off the show has been ads on my on like the Apple Podcasts app, and like I hope that after this year, or like at least going into this year, like eventually like I can be making enough money from the streams to like actually like start affording to like like I said, buy groceries, maybe pay some bills. Like it's definitely not going to sustain me. Like that is like way out there, but I'm hoping I can interview people with higher profiles, like interview people from outside the city, maybe even travel for the show a little bit more this year. Keep on I want to get the brand noticed outside of Milwaukee more. And started with that, with I'd say like interviewing some of my Chicago friends. Like that was a start, but that's still in my comfort zone because like I'm familiar with that. No, I want to like, I'm going to South by Southwest in 2 months, so like, maybe I could do something down there. Who knows? So I don't know. Like there's a lot of directions I could take, in terms of like what I really want to like accomplish. And you can also accomplish several different things at once, but it's tough. I don't know. Like I'm still going to be doing like the things the way I have been doing it. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll just be coming up with things as we go along.
So I gotta know, Ben. I gotta know.
What, Jordan?
I watch a lot of your podcasts, a lot of your interviews. Mm-hmm. I really want to know from a personal standpoint, do you go into those interviews with set questions, or are you just off the top on freestyle these questions?
A lot of people have asked me that. I don't prepare questions. I never prepare questions, and I never have. Because when you prep questions, it pressures you to take the episode / interview, take it in like a kind of like already predetermined direction. Like it makes it so like the episode, like it pressures it to go a certain way, and I never want it to be that way. Like to me that feels calculated, that doesn't feel authentic to me, like it doesn't interest me. Anyone could sit down with somebody, set up a camera, and just like read questions off a note card and be like, how did you do this? Yeah, right. But like, I mean, no knock against, like, no knock to anyone that does that, but like, you know, I just wanted more than that. Like I wanted, because like I also feel like, you know, I want people to know a little bit about who I am and like my life experiences and how it can relate to people. Foster a sense of community, if you will. So I don't, you know, like it's always just kind of been like a seamless conversation where it goes wherever we take it. There will be, like, depending on the guest, there will be specific things I do want to talk about, like pertaining to that particular guest. So like, for example, if somebody like, you know, like for example, like I had Kaylee Crossfire on the show a couple months ago, and like it was a huge thing this year where like she was on Rhythm and Flow, the Netflix show. She was a contestant, and you know she was on Netflix. Like that's and like I like, you know, told her in advance, like I want to talk about this at some point. So like, you know, the interview will go as it goes, but like I want to discuss it at some point. Or, you know, if I want to talk to a guest about a specific topic, I'll make sure they're comfortable talking about certain things before like I just sort of blindly like, you know, introduce a new topic. So, I mean, like I'll let people have like a broad idea of what I want to talk about, but with that won't come like the questions I have. Like those are kind of like spontaneous, and they also depend a lot on just what a guest gives me, like how their responses are, and like, yeah, like basically what they're giving me to work with.
Hey, we're coming towards the end of the interview, and I kind of want to do a couple some quick hits.
Oh
you know what I'm
quick
saying?
hits, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
We love a quick hit.
You know what I'm saying? One thing that I want to know is, because we both are music guys, and I think that's how we connected first off. You know, when you first listen to music, what are you looking for? What draws you? Is it the lyrics? Is it the sound? Is it a feeling? What's the first thing that you hear in music?
I always notice the sound first. It's always the sound. Because ultimately the lyrics are sound too. You hear the sound first before you know, make sense of what is being said. So yeah, like I always notice, like when I listen to music, it's always the sound. Then comes like, a lot of times like the sound will bring me to a certain place in my head, like the imagery will come out, like certain emotions. And then you like assess the lyrics and what are they actually saying here compared to like what I felt when I heard this.
If you could sit with one person, dead or alive, in the city, wherever, and you could interview them for your podcast, who would that be?
Gotta have Nardwar on the show.
Hey, you're gonna interview me someday.
Do.
I swear, I'm gonna interview Nardwar someday. Gonna actually, yeah. I wanna like pull Nardwar's on Nardwar. I wanna sit down with him because he's like the interviewer, the guerrilla journalist, as they call him. That just is so out there, so strange in his nature of like, and how he like knows so much about little details about people's lives and like things that they don't even remember. I want to sit down with Nardwar and like I want to like actually interview him. Like I think interviewing the interviewer is important, and he's been a big influence on myself. So it'd be really cool to like actually like peer into like his own mind.
You are really into the Milwaukee music scene now and know a lot of different people, but you're also a fan of music. Could you give a top 5 Milwaukee or Wisconsin artists that are your personal favorite?
Damn, that is tough because I find new artists every week pretty much. Yeah, I can name like a couple off the top of my head that I'm real big fans of. First, I'd say like I really like experimental hip hop duo Gorilla Ghost. Very political, like angry, aggressive, like punk influenced hip hop music with like these really crazy electronic like production. They're making a lot of great noise out here. Snag, they're like a hardcore punk band with climate anxiety is kind of like their thing. They make really powerful, emotional, like, cathartic music about like impending doom. They're one of my favorite bands out here. Amanda Huff, she's the best. She's a queen. She has an amazing voice, one of the most incredible voices in the city. And she's really eccentric, like chamber pop sound with a full band now, and like her theatrics when she sings, she like looks so like, just she really like immerses herself emotionally and physically into like her compositions and how she sings. So she would be third. Fourth, Apollo Vermouth, ambient artist out here. She's been in the scene for a long time. She plays a lot of DIY scene. She makes really elaborate and just meditative soundscapes. I think she deserves a lot more recognition than she gets. She's one of my favorites, also one of my favorite people. And then fifth, there's so many, and there's gonna be plenty that I didn't get to. But I gotta say, one of the most unique artists in the city is Kola. Kola and the Copperheads, as he's currently playing with now. Kola is a unique artist in the sense that he drops an album every single year on the same date, which is his birthday, April 27th. And he does all the instrumentation himself. Every album is completely different collage of music that he came up with in that span of year time. He plays locally a lot, but he also tours. He's just a creative genius, is what he is. Really funny dude as well. So Kola is also a really, really amazing, unique artist that more people should know as well. There's plenty of other ones that are great, like Immortal Girlfriend's really tight. Gotta love Genesis Renji always, Sleepberry always. Bands like Dogs in Ecstasy are really cool. There's so many more that I can't even think of right now. But yeah, man, it's hard to limit it.
Well, no, I appreciate you doing that, because there is a lot of Milwaukee town out there, and we're just always trying to hear more people out the city and out the state. Hey, I want to give this last portion for you to do any shout outs, any plugins, tell the people what you got going on next. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Jordan. Well, for one, shout out to Alan House, Breaking and Entering. Dude is a saint. He has given me a massive opportunity to be able to write for Breaking and Entering. Helping me, just meet so many people with intention. He also, on behalf of Breaking and Entering, I get to go to a lot of concerts, like touring artists, and get to do write-ups on them, and that's cool too. So I really appreciate him for getting me into shows for press. To Alan, much love to Alan. Shout out to Alan. Shout out to Genesis Renji, one of the most inspiring models of a human being that so many of the hip hop and just creative community looks up to him. Love his music. Dude is he's a great person to talk to, for sure. Great person to help make sense of things, as you're navigating the industry, navigating your artistry. Shout out to Kelsey Kaufman of Cactus Club. She is a queen. She has given so many opportunities to artists, because Cactus Club is one of the most important venues in the city, and Cactus Club is where a lot of different shows happen, and it's just such a it's a historic music venue in Milwaukee. A lot of artists, emerging artists, have had huge breaks there. I've had hugely successful shows there. And Kelsey has made it possible for a lot of these young emerging artists, just giving chances for people. She's one of the best. Shout out to George Breger, owner of Company Brewing, where I work. He's given me the opportunity to host Mr. Nice Guy Presents every month at Company Brewing there. bring different artists that haven't played our venue to experience our venue, because we have a great venue of not only the music, but the food, the beer, the people. It's great. So big shout out to George for the work he does and for operating such a great establishment I'm proud to be a part of. Shout out to Twan Mack, very inspiring dude, elder statesman in the hip hop scene. Such a nice guy. He is so professional. He is so about empowering the youth, giving chances to young artists, for them to help this become something that they believe in. My episode with him on Mr. Nice Guy was very inspiring to hear his story. I think everyone who does music should know Twan Milwaukee. And shout out to our good friend Brock Dahl. Brock's the best, man. It's I know I don't see him that often these days, but I love him because he, he's a reminder to not take things, to just laugh at things and just be goofy. And, we still bring back the skits to promote our events whenever we can. So, still love Brock. Always will love Brock. But he has been a great friend over the years. Shout out to you for letting me do this, for coming down here to interview me. I love what you're doing, interviewing people in your own way. It's important that everyone does it in their own way. And in terms of Mr. Nice Guy, just keeping it moving. Still covering shows for Breaking and Entering. This year, I decided recently I am not going to have any repeat guests this year because there's so many people to still talk to, and I want to give the platform to everybody and not just because I'm sure I could interview so many other people, so many people I've already had on the show. I'm sure I could definitely have another episode with them and it'd be fine, but for the sake of fairness, there's a lot of people to still talk to, so I'm not going to have any repeats this year. Maybe next year, though. That's about it. Can't give too much more away now because I'm also just not sure. We'll see what happens, man.
Well, Ben, man, I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah,
thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
It's been another episode of We Out Here. I'm your host, Jay Kells. Signing out till next time. Catch y'all later.